reaching to find a player. I understand. I get it. But it's not fair. Just let us have this one. Let us have this one and only thing. Speaking of not fair, that first map, not fair. Prodigy outmatched Jerome, the manager of sorts, CEO for Prodigy, even though he's kind of an active player. We saw him play in the G2 European Brawl. The second one, the first one where he won with Team Scream, he was one of the lower rated players across the event, did not exactly have a great event. And he's also sick right now. So it's adding into the possible complications for him. So I got to give him a bit of an asterisk on his performance. Yeah, it wasn't exactly great, but that's certainly not helping contribute to the success of the team.
You know, I also have to wonder if nolpenki also woke up on the right side of the bed, which is adding to their success even more. So could be kind of both ways here, but so far Prodigy are having a great time to kick us off. They'll find 2 frags on that that A site and start making their way in. Now for the defense, it's nolpenki that'll find a refrag, but it's just down to 2 now. It's it's Boo, and it's Loudly making their way over towards A. We've seen how whenever they've been down a man advantage, especially in that first pistol on split, they were able to somehow make ends meet, but that was off the back of Vac, who's already out of play. They'll start to push in. They'll find 1. They'll find 2. Now it's down to the 2v2. It's still Loudly going to try to set up from the left side, and they'll swing together. It's Pipson that's going to find a quick one, and Laza to follow up. And finally, Prodigy are on the board.
You know, happy to see them win a round. I hope they can manage to chain some together and put up a decent showing here, because Split just did not go their direction. In fact, I was corrected by chat. That first half was so bad, I actually forgot they were on defense to start. I was willing to give them credit, saying like, oh, if they got more chances on defense. No, they were on defense the whole first half when they lost 12-0. Also, Tom, talking about Lithuanian CS, you managed to forget about one of the best teams of all time, Lithuania. Luki, Kalinka, Punch, Hype, Carcass, who was even in chat, was playing with them for a little bit of time. Gotta love that roster. The name, awesome. Obviously, they didn't have the same success as Man It's Not Hot, but they were full Lithuanian roster, so there's that. Chihuahua catching out 1 as they try to push forwards. Not prepared for the targets that are just behind him. Pipson getting closer and closer on long to the slew of players coming that direction, and it's a slaughter right now. It's down to 1. It's Vac with Just a Classic, and he did great things in that last map with Just a Classic. What's the man supposed to do? Strips the armor away from Jerome, but it will be the second round there for Prodigy.
So already we are starting to see signs of life, but if you refer back to the match against Fish123, it was only 2 rounds that Prodigy were able to get. And so we'll see what ends up happening. Now it's going to be, of course, the official gun round. This is where we are going to see nolpenki really start to come alive. Unfortunately for them, Law, the only one that cannot afford a Phantom or a Vandal. Of course, utility from Sage has gotten ever so expensive. And so it makes a whole lot of sense, but we're seeing an early peek from Loudly. He won't find anyone. Just a little bit of information.
Loudly holding this crack, looking for an angle on someone moving forward. They're going to be going right up onto the B site where there's kind of a lax defense right now. It's just going to be the wall strat, so the wall off left side. The Sage goes up on top. Has to be careful. Destrian was here and did damage, but Prodigy's gotten access to the site. Laza, only 1 for him before being traded out by Boo, the Omen. Spike's going to be planted here in just a moment as it touches pay dirt. Clock hits 1:05. Vax around the corner, gets slowed down, but it's Boo who's on the rampage.
3 remaining here for Prodigy. Spike, of course, going down, and can be a difficult site to retake for the defense, but they'll find 2, and it's just down to the last and final player. It's La. Wall going to be going up, but he's on the other side. He's not in the courtyard whatsoever. Down to the 1v1. Cho versus Law. And here comes the swing. A couple of pre-fire shots, and it's Law that'll seal the deal. 3 rounds in a row for Prodigy, and already a better look than the previous map.
Nice start. I'm a little bit worried about the passive approach to playing D-side or B-side defense. Playing on the one side that you almost always see the wall makes it a little bit easier for them to get onto the site with pretty much no resistance. So we'll need to see a little bit of a switch up to the way they play B. Hopefully they'll adjust accordingly. They're playing dual defense on A, at least for the round, with Cypher over there getting some support from none other than Vac. I love this. Vac getting aggressive on long. With the Stinger, though, despite the initial damage being dealt to the Jet, there's a heal coming through. Pipson picks off Cho as well. Another promising look to a round here by Prodigy as it's down to 3 on nolpenki. They're trying to get into position. The Cloudburst is going to make it hard for Destrian to do much of anything. They had a tripwire on the flank, so they knew that Boo was coming. So now it's down to 2. It's Loudly and the Breach both in heaven currently trying to do some damage.
You know, regardless of this being a loss for nolpenki, I like the aggressive looks early for Vac. And it escapes me who was pushing up through sewers, but they were trying to get some early picks or at least make it an expensive round for Prodigy. They don't get that as Lasak goes up and he goes down almost immediately by Destrian. So at least that frag will come through. But that weapon, of course, will just likely get transferred on to the next round. And Lazar will still have credits to spend. And so now we can look to nolpenki to have what looks like to be another full buy. We'll see what they end up doing with it. So far, Prodigy, they're in the driver's seat. You know, foot not on the gas pedal quite yet, but 4 rounds are really something to think about as this match continues.
Now is when we see what nolpenki can do. Because the full buy comes through, and we should see Vac on the op. And yeah, of course, Vac's going to get aggro on short. Oh, yikes. Actually tried to dash away, and instead dashed right into the wall. Gave himself a concussion, but as the daze wears off, able to pick off Chihuahua. And he's going to be running for the hills, looking for the Sage, trying to get a heal from Destrian, who's like, I can't stay up here any longer. I gotta hop off. He'd have to back up too far, and he'd be closely leaning towards his potential demise. I like what we're seeing right now from nolpenki, but as I say that, Boo gets picked off. The reason I liked what we were saying is the level of verticality. We've talked about that a few different times throughout the series. The Omen going up on top of the boxes, the Sage on big box and B site, using that height advantage to try and peek down over smokes, but it doesn't work out so well for Boo. Luz is going to pick one more off on the A site as well, which means it's all up to Vac over here. Who else would you want in this scenario, though?
Nice. That cloud smoke almost was able to cover the push forward, but it's the orbital strike now and the red carpet that's going to be rolled out. But Vac smells that there's something cooking, takes out the classic, all down to just the 1v1, and he's right in front of your very eyes. And I believe there was a res that happened, so it is actually still one more player alive. It's Pipson. He's got himself a Phantom, and he's already on the A site. The spike, of course, leading towards Banana. You will get it picked up as the rest of the team really wasn't aware of his maneuvering on towards that site. They'll be playing a little bit more towards scouting out, but once that spike now being picked up, it is Vac trying to make his way back over. The aftershock gives Pipson a little bit of less space to work with, but he does not have enough time to get that spike down. An expensive round here from nolpenki, but at least they put a round on the board, and Prodigy, their, of course, credits are now going to start to dissipate before their eyes.
You know that Vac wanted that 6th kill.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like, Vac got an ace. Technically, it's an ace. He killed all 5 players. There was a res that came through, so he would have had to try it again and get that 6th kill to close things out. Unfortunately, that's Vac's first round with a kill. Despite his strong start on the last map, that's the first time we see him actually enter the scoreboard. So hopefully, this is the turning point for nolpenki. Because we watched that last game. They looked really good, but at the same point in time, Prodigy also looked pretty bad. So I think it was kind of a merger of those two coming together. Now, the missed shot is going to result in the death of Boo, but a follow-up comes in from Vac to take down Law. That's the Sage falling, which is a big piece to lose. And they do have the res on the Sage if they can somehow manage to get towards the bottom side of mid. Good luck.
Now with that hat off of Cypher, I wonder if it's a lot easier to hide behind the box. Of course, he is the only one there, and the rest of his team not hiding. They're going to be looking towards that C site, and it's Loudly who's there. He's going to be supported by, of course, none other than Destrian looking towards Long, but they don't really want to peek it. But, of course, they know Liza has the op, and so they want to play a little bit carefully here. They hear some of that utility being used, trying to smoke Loudly out with the Molotov. The flash signifies that it's the push forward, but a great jiggle peek from Destrian hops up over and to the left, and they'll back away. That utility, of course, already used, but Chihuahua, he's deep in the site, and Vac playing close with the op. That barrel of the weapon is going to come through, and another concussion comes in from Vac as he hops right into the box. Still that spike looking to try to go down, but they have this weird control. Now they're planting towards the A alleyway. Luzza will help support. Now they'll back away as the rest of the defense are forced to push through garage.
Vac desperately needing to work on his spatial awareness. It's not the first time we've seen him try to dash away and run right into a wall. Clips the edge of the big box, resulting in his death. Now there's the res coming through. We talked about it earlier in the round. It would be a little bit difficult given the positioning, but they managed to make it work because it's been a B plant and they've moved over more towards the B connector towards A. So now it's down to 1. It's Boo who's managed to find 2, and he's brought it down to a 1v1. Great charge coming out from the breach. The follow-up tremor. Boo's going to stick the spike to at least get it to halfway. Tries to pull off, but doesn't even have time. Pipson's just too close around the corner. Well played in the 1v1 to give Prodigy their 5th round. We talked about expensive rounds. The one prior, the win for nolpenki, cost them a lot. That means their money is right back to nothing. You can already see some force being sent out, though. Loudly was like, hey, I can afford a gun. Why can't you guys? The rest of the team, though, on trash cash means we're likely to see a save coming in from nolpenki.
You know, one of the things that I was thinking about in that last and final engagement before, of course, Pipson was able to swing the corner and take out Boo, I wonder if he could have diffused the spike safely within his own dark cover, because it was there right beside the spike, and I wonder if that would have bought him a little bit more time. Of course, we'll never know as that round is, of course, over. And the defense, they're going to be playing a little bit more aggressively on the eco. Great tracing from Luzza. Just great presence of mind to shoot exactly where he thinks that jump's going to end up. And that opens up 2 picks here now, as they'll just find them all one at a time. Just 2 members remaining, but it is, of course, the eco. So not really expecting a whole lot other than their attempts to try to make it expensive for Prodigy.
Luzza with a bit of a whiff there under the shotgun. The shotgun, it's just a shorty. He's having fun with it right now. Somehow Cho survives for way longer. Luzza's like, hold on, what sense, res, black bars, no black bars? What am I playing on here? Because I feel like I need to make a change after a couple of those shots. 6-1, though, for Prodigy. They're off to a fantastic start. Again, the improvement from the previous map, percentage-wise, is mathematically impossible to calculate, because last map they got 0 rounds, and anything times 0 is 0. So unfortunately, this is a much better performance from Prodigy. Just wish they would have come out with something like this on that first map. Split just was abysmal. And I like what we're going to see here from Vac. Vac's going to get aggressive in front of this smoke. There's the dash away just in case. But it'll be a free and clear kill coming out from Vac with the op, and even wants to go up over top of this smoke.
I like the movement from Vac there, but of course on the other side was going to be Pipson, who ended up picking up that operator and was having a look towards Plat. Of course, nobody's playing towards there. Boo might end up hopping into that corner, but still just playing behind the big box on that C site. Some rotations are called. Trap wires are set. Now it is another look for Prodigy to recommit towards this C site. Of course, there's preparation from the defense. They've got 2 playing close. One in the C alleyway and the other actually up and over on Plat. So he'll actually see this push in from garage. There's 3 that are going to start to move in, but maybe he spots it a little too late. Was in a really weird position. He'll see 1. He's going to see 2, and the spray's good. As Destrian, just poor timing, costs Vac his life, and now it's just Pipson with the op. He may look to save, but looking like another round here for nolpenki.
Did you catch what Prodigy did there? They played peekaboo.
Oh no. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Let's close up shop. Let's wrap it up.
It was a good run.
Yeah,
see you guys.
It was a good run. See you guys. Yep. Yeah.
A round going on the board here for nolpenki. They did challenge Boo on that C site. It didn't work out well for them. nolpenki really need to turn things around here. They need to kind of close things out. It is a closer map here. Haven and Bind, the closest maps currently in the rotation. Ascent and Split having a little bit of a one direction or the other. Split obviously very much leaning in the defense. Ascent's one of those ones that's hard to really read, because early on the map went one way. It's starting to switch back. It's going back and forth, not really sure what to expect. I think it really depends on the any given Sunday factor. Depends on what teams bring to the table. But nolpenki should have put up a much better front thus far. Seeing them struggle is a little bit surprising, maybe feeling a little bit overconfident after that first map win. 1-7 for Cho, 1-8 for Loudly. Polar opposites of that first map performance from them. Sure, they weren't the top performers, but they were doing better than this. Vac was obviously the all-star, and Vac's starting to wake up just a little bit. and he'll probably be pivotal in them keeping this scoreline moving in their direction. Shots off the money. No, he actually connects. It's a foot shot onto the leaping, crossing brim. Puts him near death. The big problem is that keeps the orbital strike in play. Had he actually hit in that fatal shot, he would have had him free and clear. Now, we'll see if that orbital strike is going to have an impact on this take. It should. There's the orbital strike. The play we were just talking about actually ends up dropping the Sage out of the play. The Jet able to pick one off as the Blade Storm gets popped. But there's Cho right around the corner. They weren't prepared. Has to transfer as Luzza goes dashing away. Somehow Jerome takes a while to finish off that target. Jerome still alive as the Brim. So a shot to the leg puts him on like 10 HP, and he manages to get 2 kills on the site, and the ult helps them take control of the site. They ultimately lose the round, but a lot of damage dealt off of a shot that should have been fatal.
Now looking at the economy for Prodigy, they still have enough to buy, so no really issues there, but it is starting to get a little scary. So, you know, for nolpenki, if they come out with the win on this specific round, it may actually net them a little bit of a better half. We might see something like a 7-5, but a 6-6 is a little bit likelier if they are able to win this round. And so double op in play, Boo already up on the big box in B, and Vac, of course, playing as aggressive as usual towards C Long, getting a lot of information, but he'll be greeted with some tripwires. Boo, unfortunately, missing that first and early operator shot, and now having to back away gives so much space to the attack, moving in towards B, but he's still there with the op, and so when they push in, you got to make sure that they flash, check their corners, and he actually misses the flash and now gets a free shot into Law.
You got to be careful. There's a lot of bodies built up on the front side of that B site. They're going for the spike plant, excuse me. Cho tossed out a cyber cage over towards A connector. That breach charge close to being fatal. Nice shot coming out from Boo, a third on the round, as now it's only 2 players remaining, and Pipson's going to get flashed as Cho actually finds both kills on the retake. Well played coming in from nolpenki on the retake. We kind of criticized them earlier for playing a little bit too soft on the B site. Part of that is that teams don't really feel as comfortable going towards B, given that it's a lot easier to retake than some of the other sites with access from both mid and both connectors to C and A. But in this instance, they play that passive role, they give them site control, and then they just collapse on the site, and it works out quite nicely for them, largely off the work put in by Boo with the operator, who found 3 kills on the round, but Cho closes things out with a double, and he was a player we were just talking about who was struggling a little bit coming into these latter rounds in this first half.
And, you know, for the side of nolpenki, now that they've started to come alive, and, you know, even earlier to your point, with Cho now starting to come alive alongside some of the other members of nolpenki, once we swap over to the second half, it might be a completely different story. Haven, the only map that feels even slightly attacker favored, gives the defense so much more room to work with now that they've got 4 rounds on the board. And the worst possible case is an 8-4.5, but it seems unlikely considering they already found a pick onto Luzza, who had the operator in play. They found another one lurking in through the sewers, and so things are already starting to look grim for Prodigy. And if they move on into that second half 6-6, then, you know, nolpenki will really start to take advantage of that attacker half.
Jerome on the site with the spike, doing some damage. You know, Jerome may have had a rough first game, but at least he's putting in work. Now, he knows one's coming on the flank, but he's only got 8 HP, so it's a difficult duel, and it goes the way you would expect. We wanted to see nolpenki fight back and close things out 6-6, and they're right on the precipice of being able to do so. A nice turnaround, but where was this team several rounds ago? Where was this team in the first buy round? Where was this team in the second buy round?
Yeah.
Why did it take so long for them to get themselves back into the game? And honestly, Vac has been kind of quiet. 10-7 is not bad, but it's not nearly what we expected to see from him based on the way that first game went.
Well, you know, having a look at the map between G2 and nolpenki, it was really Boo that was top fragging. Vac was relatively middle of the pack. Well, actually, sorry. It was just that Boo had probably the best rating out of really the whole roster. Vac, of course, and Loudly had some good performances. But it just seems that, like, Vac, while a superstar, there are some members on the team that can shine as well. And quite honestly, you want a team to have multiple stars that are shining. You don't only want Vac to be picking up all the slack. while as broad his shoulders may be, you want some other members working in the gym trying to be able to carry some of that weight. And you've got players that you can rely on like Boo and like Cho, and you're seeing that here in this map.
My eyes are better than yours.
Cho picking off Pipson. And another as it's fallen down onto one. It wasn't even Cho to get things started, but he'll close things out with a 3-piece on the round. It was the Breach, Loudly, who went for an aggressive play on long and gunned them down with a rifle. We're all tied up. After a really, really bad start coming in from nolpenki, the inevitable occurred. They finally found a round. They started to build up some rhythm. They got that confidence back. And now they switch over to the attacking side, which, again, we got to see more of on Split than we did their defense. They played one round on defense on Split because it was that one-sided. It was 12-0 at half. So we didn't really get to see that defense so much. So maybe they're just not that strong as a defensive team. And given that they do have a heavy initiator, duelist, entry, whatever you want to call it, in VAC with the Jet, I anticipate a similar performance from them here on their attacking side.
Well, if I were to have a look at yesterday's round by round, nolpenki had a great defender side on Ascent, and that's actually what caused G2 to start to come back. And so maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe it depends on the map and really also depends on the day. nolpenki, of course, yesterday had a stressful day, you can imagine, with everything that was going on. But an early look towards the attack. It is, of course, the spike going to be going down and still the 3v3, so odds have the ability for Prodigy to come back, but there's a heavy stack up in heaven, and so once they start to funnel through, it might be difficult for them to check all the possible angles. One going to be hiding in hell. That's going to be the jump on in, and Cho will get taken out, but with a quick trade from Loudly down to the 2v2. Pipson up in heaven, and Laza pushing through the side, and they'll find the 2 picks that they need and get the spike diffused. A great start for Prodigy in the second half.
Prodigy looking so much better on this second map. So they pick up both pistols, helping propel them in this second half with the round lead. I mean, it was 6-6 at half. It was 6-0, though, to be fair. So they brought it back, made it 6-6. They lose the pistol. It's likely to be 8-6. Second round's a little bit clumsy and awkward. It's that third round, though, that concerns me. If nolpenki can do some damage here, they could really upset the apple cart of Prodigy's cash flow and have seriously weak buys to fight against in that third round. How do they approach it? They just decide to go straight towards B. There's a tripwire down. That's it. So they're just going to go ahead and storm towards the B site. They'll eat that tripwire and get the spike plant. So it's a free site control. Again, we talked about it. nolpenki played really passive on B in that first half. Prodigy, even more passive, further away from the B site, but it doesn't matter. The retake should be easier given that it is rifles against pistols.
Still like the plant, though. I mean, it was just really a read that neither team could have expected. Prodigy, they flashed and pushed 3 down banana, while the attack was heavy pushing towards B. So it was 2 towards C, 3 towards A. And so there was really just a lot of freedom towards the middle. And now that spike obviously going down on B, they'll get the defuse. It was easy to just have both forces meet in the middle and have the ability to push in from both sides. So great round from Prodigy, but I am looking towards this gun round, like you alluded to earlier, that if nolpenki do not win this round, Prodigy have a serious ability to come back in this map and actually take us to map number 3, which after that split map, you probably would have not predicted that. If you were a betting man, you'd be like, no, there's no way, right? And now that we are seeing a little bit of a closer performance, we might actually end up on Bind, which both teams, you know, we've seen a lot of Haven, we've seen a lot of Split, we've seen a lot of Ascent, but Bind, it's a big question.
Well, they get aggressive with that molly and smoke over on long to gather up control of that orb. You mentioned it. There's a possibility of going to a third map. I would have never anticipated that given how the first map went. I would have thought, okay, this was a quick 2-0. Even coming into this, I thought this is probably going to end 13-2. I think I even said that. 13-2 was my prediction for this series based on the way that Prodigy played, partly because they just felt completely disconnected. I think the best word that describes the way they played on Split was discombobulated.
Wow.
They were split into multiple pieces, scattered across the map. At various points, they'd find a kill, but like maybe the spike's all the way on the other side of the map. Stuff like that seemed to be a persistent problem for them. Now they're going to try and gain access to this C site. You've got Chihuahua backside trying to lock it down. Chihuahua will connect on to Destrian. That's the spike planner going down. Back with a quick shot, traded out immediately. Pipson's gotten one as well. Prodigy looking oh so strong here on the defense as well, as it's all fallen into Cho's lap. The Cypher having to take out the tripwire over towards short, starting to push through short. There's one right in front of him. Inside that smoke he goes. Up on top of the box, takes the battle with Luzza. It's now a 1-on-2 with 11 HP. One shot coming through, but not quite enough. Jerome peaks late with the Bulldog and survives with full HP. He'll grab that up as well, so they'll have that coming into the next round. An expensive round win for Prodigy, but a round win nonetheless.
So now, nolpenki are on the pistol or a force up, whatever they end up deciding with. And this means Prodigy potentially win round number 10, and that means that the gun round, if they lose that one too, it could be 11-6. Like, Prodigy could really start to lay on some of these rounds, and nolpenki desperately need a round, and as soon as possible if they want to keep things competitive. The defense, it stayed close, you know, a 6-6 half, but now on attack, we thought that nolpenki would start to come alive, but again, it has felt a little lackluster. We need more gun rounds to tell us the information that we need, but so far it has not been looking good.
We'll see what it is that nolpenki does to adjust. They've got to contend with Jerome's ult here, as he's got the orbital strike. Now, they also have the Blade Storm for the Jet on both sides, as well as the Neural Theft. There's the dive into sight, so the blades do come out. You expected to see it. Vak's going to switch to the pistol, able to upgrade to a rifle, and that's scary as Vak connects through that smoke. They're going to go ahead and pop the Neural Theft as well. That gives away the position of this player up in heaven. No reason for them to peek and challenge Luzza. Cloudburst's going to go up, make sure that vision is obscured for the time being. 5-on-3 in the post-plant numbers advantage here for nolpenki. This was a save round, and it's working out so nicely off the back of that ult pop by Vak. Now, Law will be the first one into the site, peeking around the corner, catches them off guard just a bit. They weren't anticipating that play, the walkthrough. Law's even going to get the res. It's starting to fall apart here. How did this come to be? It's now down to 2. It's the Cypher and the Omen, and the wall's going to go up, and that's pretty much going to guarantee the round. They're going to stand on the other side and try and break away that ice, but it's not going to make a difference. The spike's going to be defused.
That was close. But wait, is it? No. That okay. All right. 1.36. That was close from nolpenki. Just when you thought it was down and out, they hack at that ice like nobody's business. They get their hatchets out, they slice it up, and then Boo is there waiting, has the sheriff in his hand, and takes out 2, just leaving the last and final player, Pipson. That was close, and on an eco nonetheless. So the economy, while still good for Prodigy, is really starting to double down, and we'll see now how nolpenki are able to answer with a full gun round.
Luzza tries to time the shot, doesn't connect, but Law is there with the backup. A bit of an alley-oop. Boo trying to go up towards the C site. There was a tripwire down, preventing that push. 4 rounds now separate nolpenki from Prodigy. Now, that round was really good from nolpenki, despite the fact that they don't win it. I thought they should have had it, based on the fact that they had the numbers advantage. They had picked up guns. They had great post-plant positioning, but no one was really paying attention to spawn, and that cloudburst kind of acted as a one-way for them coming through from spawn. Vak just wasn't prepared, kind of watching for the drop coming out of heaven. Speaking of Vak, we're back in his eyes yet again here with the operator, peeking towards heaven, doesn't see anything initially. That's because there's one hiding currently in the corner. That's the only player playing up there. They're going to spot him out. The flick shot not where it needs to be. But that does at least force the breach out of position. Brim's trying to get in to try and help. That's Jerome, but now he's been smoked out. Sight's been lost, and it's going to be another retake. This time it'll be 5-on-5.
Yeah, they get that spike down quite handily. Boo in a great position for any of those flanks. Of course, they could just really be using the tripwires and such, but Destrian looking for a great boost. See if anyone's going to try to come in the hard way as opposed to heaven. Luzza gonna find Vac, and already a crucial piece of the pie has been taken away off the dinner table. Destrian gonna find Law. There's still a couple more that are gonna start to funnel in. It's a pandemonium affair on the site. Still few members remaining. It's Pipson, the last one standing, and he's gonna hightail it out of there with the operator in tow. And finally, nolpenki put a round on the board on attack. This is their first round that they've gotten involved, and they desperately needed this to be a part of the conversation.
They desperately couldn't afford to surrender that 11th round, give that over to Prodigy. They should have survived with a few more bodies to help build up the econ to make this comeback a little bit better, but it's not like they're so far out of this game that they can't come back into it.
Yeah.
Early on, yeah, they kind of were. I was 6-0, and I'm like, oh, this is actually, I thought this score would be flipped. I'm like, did the teams get flipped backwards up in the overlay? Is something wrong? Because that was the scoreline we expected to see early on from nolpenki. They just outplayed Prodigy in that first map. From the attacking side, no less, mind you. Now, nolpenki, again, going to get aggro over on long.
Nice.
And Vac just goes right past the smoke, through the molly, doesn't even take a lick of damage. There's one right around the corner as well, the Brim, trying to get away, picking up the gun, potentially spamming that key to try and swap it out. But they'd be wise to fall off of this, and that's exactly why. Boo's going to catch one, trying to come in on the back end of the play. You've got Chihuahua underneath the window with the Guardian, able to tap down 3. Chihuahua make it 4 on the round as it comes down to Vac in the 1-on-2, has to go to the sidearm.
Vac traded away the operator for the Vandal. Now looking to get some damage done. Has the spike ready, but it's up to Luzza, his alter ego, and the Brimstone. Spike, to be quite honest, safest place to plant it would be B, considering how open it may be, but may look for something a little closer. On the opposite side, it's going to be the Brimstone. It's good. Down to the 1v1. Jet versus Jet. Luzza going to start the rotation over. Spike going to be planted not towards the courtyard, but a little bit further back towards the alleyway. Smoke's now going to go out, and the tailwind as well. The headshot connects. Vac with the 4K, and it's another round on the board for nolpenki. 8-10.
Great round coming in from Vac. Strong round coming in from nolpenki at first. Chihuahua tries to turn things around, nearly got the ace with an aggressive Guardian play. Yeah, my mic is working properly. It's a Guardian pushed all the way up in mid. That position should almost never result in the amount of kills we saw for Chihuahua, but it was just raw aim, timing, and crosshair placement taking over. Law inside the garage right now has a couple of bodies right around the corner in grass. nolpenki aware of their situation as their money again suffers a bit of a blow. They won the round before with 2 players up. They win that round with 1 player up. The money definitely going to be a problem for them moving forward. They can't continue to lose players early on, and as I say that, they lose one of the most pivotal pieces. Vac, the guy who clawed them out of that last round with a 1v2, now watching from the sidelines for the remainder of this round.
The rest of the team, of course, now need to act and act quick. Unfortunately, I would like to say that they should strike while the iron is hot, but it is not, as Vac has been taken out of the equation, and so feeling a little lackluster. They'll find an entry onto Jerome. 2 more will follow suit. Luzza, the only one to find a refrag, and now it's the 3v2. Looked good for Prodigy at the start, but they're looking to make it an aggressive post plan as they don't want to give them the opportunity, but it's already starting to fall apart. Pipson just going to pick up that operator. Maybe look for a couple of those last-minute peaks, but I don't think he's going to be coming out with the round. We don't really see Pipson to be that type of player, and it's a 1v3 scenario with a lot of utility on the opposite side. Lots of flashes, lots of smokes, and so going to be very difficult. Does find one onto Loudly, and so that can be about as much as he's going to get as he'll back away and let that spike blow up.
Closer and closer the scoreline gets. Will they be able to continue with what they've done thus far? Because again, I gotta wonder how their money looks. I'm not sure if the scoreboard's bugged or not currently. There has been a bug that's been affecting the scoreboard in the second half, where you only see 1 player on each side. It's unfortunate. And I think it's affected pretty much all of the games that we've covered thus far. There doesn't
Yeah.
really seem to be much of a workaround at all. It's just a Riot issue that they're working on. They're well aware of the issue, and hopefully we'll have a fix very soon for that. But I would love to see what the cash looks like here for nolpenki, because I feel like they're at that constant breaking point, right on the edge of being bankrupted. Now, Prodigy has been pushed over that limit. You can see Law's on a frenzy and wanted to get aggressive on C Long. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people right in front of him.
Oh.
And Law through the smoke, shooting with the frenzy, spraying away. A trade back from Vac. But the kill from the defense to the attack is much worse than the other direction. They do have the res available, so at least they can bring Loudly back into play. But it was a pistol that got things started against rifles.
It's still going to be an expensive res, right? How many rounds remain really at this point? After this one, it's going to be 4 potential rounds that either team could sway back in their favor. Not having a res, it'll take a couple of kills, a couple of orbs to really get it back into play. But on the opposite side, Prodigy, they've got one. Of course, not in play at the moment, but they have one that they can use in rounds to come. Flash can be around the corner. Chihuahua, not really sure when to left click, and he'll be taken out. Still the 3v5, and nolpenki really just playing respectively. They don't want to lose any members. They've got the 5 on 3 now. They've got that C side as well. Spike gonna go down, and the defense really, at this point, you either fight and you try to get a couple of kills on the way out, or you look for exits. The way that nolpenki are playing, they're probably going to exit towards long, and so they're not going to come from defender spawn. Jerome may be hoping that somebody lurks through B and tries to find some exits, but nolpenki are no longer playing that aggressive style, giving a lot more respect to Prodigy. We're not seeing the same nolpenki on split, and so you'll likely not see them look for some of these cheeky little kills.
Nice little kill coming in from Pipson by way of the Sheriff. Pistol's looking to do a bit of extra damage. This would be one of the best rounds we've seen from nolpenki on the attack, with 4 players surviving. Could have been 5 had Vac not been picked off by Pipson. But the spike will detonate, and we will find ourselves at a tie score. Despite all the efforts put in from Prodigy thus far to try and close things out and take it to a 3rd map, nolpenki has come alive yet again in the tail end of this half, just like they did in the tail end of that first half. It took them a while to warm up in the first half, but they ended up going 6-0 in the start and turning around and going 6-0 in the second. So it was tied 6-6 moving into the second half. They lost the pistol, they lost the first buy round, and then they started to turn things around when they finally got into that full buy. So 10-10, we are all tied up. It's going to be another full buy coming in here from Prodigy as well. And you've got the operator for Law. Jump peek Jiggle out from the Omen. They got to be careful right up over top of the smoke. They didn't spot the Jet up in this position, or the Sage, excuse me. It was Law who was up over the top. So that's kind of a free kill coming out. Chihuahua right around the corner there to support in case they push through from Garage, but there's no res currently. They burned that in the previous round, losing that player to pistols.
Wait, so they boosted up, and now he has another boost up? Wow.
They did.
Stuff.
So you jump off like the pallets to the left, and then you just go for the boost. Kind of like the. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't boost.
Yeah. Well, at least some have figured it out. Chihuahua, though, unfortunately gets a little bit aggressive, and honestly, I probably would advise against that. You already find a pick. You just wait for the attack to now start to push in. Looks like that attack's going to be towards B. Law's going to find Boo, who's himself looking for more frags on and near that C site. Resurrection will come in, and this is not looking like a great round for nolpenki. They'll find 1, they'll find 2. Cho making it very expensive, and they'll start to beeline over towards A. So now, what looked like a round for Prodigy, it's a 3v3 retake on towards A.
There's the first kill coming out. It's going to be Vac with the operator. Cho is in a great position to punish Chihuahua, who's coming right around the corner, and there it is. It's down to 1. Again, it's Pipson, and is Pipson in a scenario where he feels the need to save? Yes, absolutely. Get out of there, because that rifle is worth so much, especially when the operator is right there on the ground next to him. And it would be wise for them to not even go for these exits as well. nolpenki needs to stack their cash up just as much as Prodigy needs to do the same. They'll escape with 3 players on the round. Prodigy, yet again, get reduced to low numbers and lose control of the site. Back to back. I feel like we've said this a couple times. Spike plants right now piling up for nolpenki. They continue to get site control, and Prodigy's left in a save scenario.
Yeah, we'll see what some of their weaponry looks like. Of course, we are sorry about the scoreboard bug. Not much that we can do, and Riot, like Bach said, is aware. I think with every patch that comes out, observer bugs get fixed, and the next time a patch is slated to arrive is July 21st. So a couple more days that we just got to hold on, and surely it'll be all settled. So looking at the defenses at time, of course, they've got the op and play and Vac out of the conversation. An early pick might net them the round, but still there's a lot more time left as there's a minute 30 for the attack to figure things out.
How do they respond after losing one? And not just losing one. It feels like they lost 1.5. Vac has played at that level of play at points throughout this series that it's not like they just lose one player. He's so much more than that. That's just a high camera angle, not a Cypher cam, so Cypher has no idea what's coming his direction. As they come around the corner, though, they lose all of those fights. Again, it's the Guardian, but this time it's not in the hands of Chihuahua. It's Law, who's in garage window, catching the late peeking Cypher. The problem is Sight's been lost, but at least they have an even numbers duel, a 3-on-3. It's one of the few times they've actually had this. Wall boost, trying to go up over top of this smoke. Thought it would work out nicely for Loudly, or for Law, excuse me, but Loudly is there at the punish, and there's the Rolling Thunder. A perfect time to pop this one. They're stuck around the corner, moving slow, like their shoes are covered in glue. Loudly pushes in, doesn't realize there's actually one back behind him. Jerome sneaks behind enemy lines, but only for a moment. The turnaround from the breach eventually gives away that position. But the spike, it's too far gone at this point. The round is already lost. It will be 12 now for nolpenki as they've brought it all the way back to match point.
Okay, so it was a journey to get here. Prodigy, they were in the lead at one point. I think it was 4-0, maybe even 5-0 at some point. And now we've come to a point where nolpenki, they looked at the calendar, they realized it was comeback season, started to shape up, started to find some early picks. You know, their defensive side, 6-6, attack looking a little bit better, but still rough. Still rough. Definitely not out of the money just yet. And they're not out of the woods yet either. So, last potential round here for nolpenki, and the defense, they're shaking in their boots.
nolpenki. I'm just impressed. Thoroughly impressed with what they've been able to do. I was actually honestly impressed with Prodigy, though. I thought, wow, Prodigy looks so much better on this map. Strong start. Everything's clicking. But then nolpenki makes an adjustment, and Prodigy doesn't react in time. It's the same story from the first half played out in the second half. It's just happening sooner. They waited 6 rounds in that first half. They didn't wait nearly as long in the second half. Here,
I like this.
You've got this up look towards short. Look at the way they're playing, though. nolpenki is respecting right now what Prodigy could be doing. They are fanned out across the map, playing a little bit slower than we've seen them play in the past. It's down to 35 seconds, and they still haven't made it onto a site.
I like what they did there. I don't know if you caught that, but they actually ran through sewers just enough to be in range to hear, and now they'll call that execute over. So there was 3 held over towards the A site. They thought they heard something. They thought they could get involved, but it's the C site all along. 2 kills traded back. Chihuahua and Vac, but Vac is still a part of the conversation. The spray through the C connector, it's not going to find its mark. Loudly finds Law down to just 2 now. It's all falling apart here for Prodigy. We talked about how it all came together in the beginning. The early rounds were great, but Laza now does not peek the correct angle, looks away, and when you look away, you die. Just down to Pipson in a 1v4. Seems very unlikely that he will come out on top. Cho wins the 50. Pipson doesn't even check the 50. And it is nolpenki that'll be in